Oh, we got a nice fire pit going here. Okay, let's go. All right, hello everybody. It's Matt, Felix, and Will here coming to you from the very end of our California dreaming, and we're coming to you at the very end of the American continent. That's right. We are here at the Pacific Ocean,
where America came into awareness of its mortality.
When the wave finally broke and rolled back. The terminator of the American consciousness, the Pacific Ocean and California and all it represents.
For people who aren't aware of it, California is like New York on crack.
I think it's like New York on weed.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Sort of a chilled out attitude.
Yeah, New York is New York on crack.
No, it's more. It's sort of like the Six on chopped cheese, ox style.
You got.
Yeah, you know you got to go to Ock.
Felix,
Dude, I gotta say, like, as now a lifetime New Yorker for the past 6 years, this place has a lot going for it, but it doesn't have Ock. If I can't go to Ock, I might as well fucking kill myself.
I'm so ready to go back to New York City and just get a hot chopped cheese first thing when I get back.
You ought to get one of those piping hot off the fryer.
I had a few in my coat.
Yeah.
Helped me over here.
I have actually never had a chopped cheese.
Never had a chopped cheese either.
I did once.
They chopped up the cheeseburger. That's all they did.
Do you want to hear how I ordered it?
How'd you order it?
Yo, Ock, you already know the vibes. What's good? Yo, let me get a chopped cheese, extra man. You already know the vibes. Haha, hook it up though, Ock. Yes, sir.
Who's Ock?
Dr. Ock from
every
Spider-Man?
bodega, Ock.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I just like heard people say it. And it was like, is there just a lot of guys named Ock? Or I mean, because it could be short. It could be someone abbreviating Ahmed. Or it's just like, that's like an honorific.
Are you doing Bodies and Spaces right now, Felix?
No.
Is this a slur that you learned?
I don't think it's a slur because it was like guys who are on good terms with him.
Okay.
And it was like people of several different races.
Okay. So yeah, maybe it's just short for Ahmed.
I don't know. But I like to think that like just misinterpreting it and being like, that's the guy who works the bodega. That's his title. Miss Ock.
Well, it's the end of our trip to California. I don't know. Just really not looking forward to going back to New York, formerly the #1 best city in the world. But
falling in the rankings.
I actually am so excited to go back. I really am.
Yeah, because you can walk to your gym.
That's the only important thing about living anywhere. I had to go 2 miles to the gym here, like a fucking someone who lives in Lithuania or something. It fucking sucked. I didn't do nothing else was good. No, I had a good time here. I actually did have a really good time here.
No, it's been great. And shout out to everyone who we got to spend some time with here in California. But I think just to kick things off today, though, I think like the most important thing we need to talk about is Felix had an experience today, or a number of experiences really that I think bears discussing on the show.
So this morning, when Will woke up, he saw an unexpected sight. I was stuck in the washing machine. And you already know how you have to get me out. Ox style. No, I courtesy of a friend of the show and friend of all shows and all connections to all things, Jack Wagner, I was able to meet monkeys today.
You met monkeys.
You had
a
other primates.
A head-to-head summit between you and the Monkey Nation.
They were really fucking cool.
Right,
they were so fucking cool.
Let's go to the tail of the tape here. Let's walk us through your animal encounters this morning, because you had a bunch of them, and you sort of communed with a couple different souls today.
Yeah. So it's like it's a rescue place that's sort of like they're being zoned out of it. They have to move like 4 miles, like sort of outside of LA County, because of one of those zoning things that I don't understand. But basically, they're a rescue sanctuary for like animals who are actors or like exotic pets that shouldn't have been kept as pets, who like maybe they have medical problems, or maybe they just like they can't be released back in the wild. They can't just like be it's impossible for them to like be a capuchin again, or for them to be like a serval again, or for them to be a kangaroo in some cases again. And for some animals there, it's like, someone just saw a call to animal control about a wolf that came in the backyard, and these people were like, we can take care of it. And they do a fucking great job here. It's called Animal Tracks Inc. And they actually do need money for the move, but it's a fucking awesome place. It's really fucking sweet. And yeah, I got to all types of favorites were there.
Yeah,
there was
so,
skunk.
wait, so
There were.
let's go to like the top 5 here.
I don't think I can pick favorites, but
we'll have
like
to rank them. But like, let's go through the encounters.
my best personal interaction was with the Capuchin, who like he like crawled on my shoulder and then he like tried to take my watch off, not to steal it. He was just interested in how it worked, and he wanted
Likely story.
No, he's not a thief. He's not a thief. He was he was like, oh, how does that work? They're curious, and they're our cousins, so like. I would let him borrow
it. Also took your hat off. I saw a picture of taking your Zapata oil hat.
He took my Zapata oil hat off, and then he rubbed my hair for a little bit, and then let me put it back on. He was so sweet. And like another monkey, the first thing we saw was a macaque and a baboon who are friends, and we didn't play with them.
Lovely.
They're like those are two like the monkeys that we like were able to interact with. They were like more okay around people, but the macaque and the baboon are like they're really good with the people who work there and volunteer there. But it's like you don't want to just have an untrained person there. You shouldn't like in the cage with them or not in the cage, but in their sanctuary. But we did get to see them, and there's a cool story that the baboon really wanted to be a mother and couldn't, but they introduced the baby macaque into her environment, and she just treats it
she
like
adopted
it's her.
the macaque.
Yeah, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. And he the baby macaque was like kind of annoying, I guess. He would like fuck with other monkeys there, and the baboon like basically taught him how to grow up.
Oh, that's very special.
Yeah. No, it's such a fucking cool place. There are like more classic animals you'll see, like, there's skunks and there is like an armadillo, and it's like you really see that every animal has swag. Like when the armadillo saw us walking by, it started getting up on its hind legs a little bit. Like started
did it curling a ball at all?
No, he did like want to make an impression, which I thought was amazing.
Okay, I got to give him a tight 5.
Well, these are former Showbiz animals.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, I'm going to give him my clean 5 minutes, the one I did on Leno.
They have a lemur there that like I guess someone like fucked up, like someone just through neglect. But he's sort of, I don't want to say palliative care because it's not towards the end of his lifespan, but it's like he sort of had a paralysis, and they're treating him for that. Like they're amazing there.
Wait, didn't you say they were giving him CBD for that?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, but it's like you can give CBD to animals.
It's natural. It's from the earth.
It is from the earth. But like, no, it was an amazing place. It was like one of the best days of my life, honestly.
No, I mean
like meeting the monkeys was, it just, I don't know. But not just the monkeys. Like obviously the monkeys are amazing, and they are our cousins, and everyone knows my thoughts about primates, how they represent fragments of humanity individually.
Yes.
But
what does the capuchin monkey represent?
Mischief. It's lying.
Good-hearted mischief.
Yeah. But
like trying to get one over on you, but just like as a game.
You know what was unexpectedly cool, though? I mean, of course it's cool because they're cool animals, but wolves.
Yeah, you had some wolf encounters as well.
So they have a hybrid there who's like, I guess his mom was a wolf and his dad was a dog, which is like, if the dog does it, like he really pulled one.
What is this? The Will Menaker story? Woo!
So he's like 150 pounds. Like he's fucking massive.
Well, you said interesting animal fact that these hybrid species lose the size regulator in their gene code or something.
A lot of them do.
So like a liger, for instance, is bigger than a lion or a tiger. They're like absurdly large, but they can't reproduce.
Yeah, so like this wolf dog type thing, it's like, a wolf really doesn't get bigger than like 110, 120 pounds. It's just impractical for all the distance they have to cover. But this dude is a fucking tank. But he wasn't like, it's not like a Labrador where like, how a Labrador runs up and rubs alongside you and like demands your attention. This guy was like cool, but he was happy to see you. He would just go up to you and he bumped his nose into my pocket. Not to try to take my vape like the Capuchin did try to do, but to just like see what was up with me. But then, he just walked around, did his own thing. And me and Jack talked about this, how there was a real feeling of calm around the wolves because, I mean, the monkeys are our cousins, but the wolves, we've been working with them for like a million years.
Yeah, they're our partners.
Yeah. And it was very sick. I mean,
it's like the monkeys are like the cousins that you see like a couple times a year at big holidays, but the wolves, they're like your coworker.
Yeah.
You have to see them every day.
Yeah. But it was, there's an understood thing between us. But it was,
the alpha.
If anyone can do something like that, like go to like a sanctuary where that they're, this place is totally fucking legit. Like does great by the animals they have there, and everyone there like genuinely really cares about the welfare and the enrichment of the animals. And you're able to go and just check things out. Like, it's fucking awesome. And support any place like that, and especially this place. And me and Jack were talking about doing like a fundraiser on Twitch because this place needs to cover moving costs, and it's such an amazing place. I mean, Showbiz has historically been awful to animals, and it's nice that someone's looking after them.
Not much better to people, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The only big difference between child actors and animal actors is the animal actors rarely go on to hold up convenience stores.
Well, I learned something. This is an interesting thing I learned. I asked half jokingly, because there was a monkey who was in I forgot which movie it was, but it was like a pretty big movie, like a Disney movie. And I said, well, can you get residuals for a monkey? And it's apparently not, because the animal trainers joined the transportation union because they wanted to transport their own animals, obviously, and they know everything about it, but that kept them from being part of SAG, where they would get residuals, which sucks.
So, if they wanted residuals, they would have had to bring a bear to set in their car, just in the back seat.
Yeah,
just be like, "Hey, we're ready to go. Hey, don't know to stay away from the craft service table."
Yeah, I mean they should though. They should okay, if you're just gonna put an animal in a fucking movie and the movie makes $1 billion worldwide, but then the animal was fucked up from being ridden that hard on set. It's
from being tortured by Ronald Reagan every day on the set of Bedtime for Bonzo.
Bonzo!
Don't scold him. He didn't mean it.
Well, that's beside the point. Aggressiveness like that could become an aberration.
You have to pay for that chimp CBD, please. Just drop in the bucket for Hollywood.
I don't want to tell you what Ronnie did to that poor bozo.
Well, that bozo was on the shitty
Bonzo.
media.
His name was Bonzo.
Bonzos. All right.
But no, it was an amazing experience.
I wanted to ask you about one more of the animals, and I know you saw a serval cat.
Yeah. I think I'm buying one now.
It's illegal.
I'm just kidding, everyone. You can't do it in New York. I know.
Can you do it in California though?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, you honestly, you shouldn't. Because
no, of course not.
It's
of course you shouldn't have it.
You should
It's a wild animal.
If you're these people and you know everything about them, but what if you're like me and you just felt a genuine connection to it? I did. He reminded me of Ernest.
Do you think they shared some sort of universal Jungian cat consciousness? Are there aspects of Ernest in because I often imagine Marty as some sort of immortal being or energy, like a sphinx-like presence that is passed throughout the ages.
That makes sense with cats. They're just
I mean, they do, they are, portals to the world of the dead.
Yeah, there are 30 different types of cats, and they're all just cycling. And when your cat's sleeping, he's being a cat somewhere in Turkey. He's I have my shift in Izmir.
I would love that. I would love that. That's true. Because that's the thing. Cats, what do they do most of the day? They're sleeping.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're porting into
other bodies.
They're sharing the universal cat being. It's just it's a hive mind of just shared consciousness.
I have to go to that cat behaviorologist because my cat keeps committing quantum suicide. But there was also a Bengal, and it was cool.
A Bengal tiger?
No, a Bengal cat.
Oh, a Bengal cat.
Yeah.
What is a Bengal cat?
It's weird. It's one of those, a palace cat.
Or, yeah. They have one of those at the Prospect Park Zoo.
I love them.
They're great. They're really cool.
I fucking love them. But
it's just funny because they're wild. They look like house cats. It's really funny.
Well, that's exactly.
They look like a weirder, kind of fatter version of a house cat.
That's exactly it. You look at him from a distance. You're like, is that just a normal cat in there? But then you get a closer look, and it's its hair.
They look kind of derpy. They look kind of flat faces. They're red, funny looking.
I love palace cats.
They're great though. They're really cool.
It's one of those types of cats where it's the closer you look at it, you're like, oh, its claws are a little longer. It's a little beefier than most cats.
Yeah, it's stocky.
Yeah, but it was one of those, and they live together and seem to get along pretty well.
That's fantastic. And then finally, there were some kangaroos and wallabies as well.
Yeah. The kangaroos and wallabies lived together, which was sick. Apparently, the kangaroo came from, and I'm not withholding this. I don't know. They wouldn't tell me. Believe me, I asked. There was a famous person who, illegally, obviously had one, and these people thankfully ended up taking care of it. But I don't know. I'm trying to. It would be funny if it was someone on, it was Noah Baumbach. had like an exotic pet, like El Chapo or something.
It was Wes Anderson.
Yeah, Noah Baumbach, like he's doing an interview and he's like, I just really think the most interesting part of the story is how people feel or whatever. And then it's like he gets off and he's just like, he's James Franco in Spring Breakers. He just like rips the collared shirt off and he's wearing like a fucking Rasheed Wallace jersey and like chains. And he's got
some fronts and then hops in a fucking kangaroo pouch and he's like, let's ride.
Yo, my bitch directs movies.
He's got a tiger shark in a jacuzzi.
Yeah. Just you pull down like an NYU Tisch school degree, and behind it there's just like gold-plated AKs and shit. He's like, oh, thank God I'm done with that fucking bitch-ass interview. Just in his heart of hearts, that's who he is.
I got gold bullets, motherfucking vampires. I got Scarface on repeat.
Best movie.
Scarface on repeat. Constant, y'all.
Well, I mean, as long as we're talking about animals and animal facts in the animal kingdom, I mean, this is a segue into a question I've been pondering this week. Because, like, you know, this is our first trip after fucking being inside all fucking year, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill here. We've heard it a billion times before. But, you know, New York, L.A., America is, you know, it's thawing out. But with the thaw out, I feel it's sort of like those ancient bacteria that's in the fucking permafrost.
Absolutely.
Is just like as the fucking glaciers melt, they enter the atmosphere again, and like
T-Rex gonorrhea is going to be bukkakied all over us.
Well, I mean, in sort of like an emotional, psychological sense that like people have been in sort of in stasis for a year, and now that things are beginning to open up again, and like people's social lives are returning, and a sense of kind of like public being and behavior is coming back to us. I strongly feel that like I have this strong sense that much of us have gone feral.
Oh yeah, we're buck wild.
It's this. I feel like this summer is going to be so fucking crazy, and I just feel it's just like, I swear to God, like this week it felt like freshman year in college. Like nobody knows how to drink anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to act anymore. No one knows how to have fun anymore. Like even just on the flight over here, I saw a thing today that 2 airlines have just recently banned all alcohol on. They're not even serving drinks on planes anymore, which is like, you know, a lot of people like rely on that. They're like, oh, give me a scotch or whatever. They think it's like one of the only, you know, decent parts of air travel. But like, and I'm sure they make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, they
now.
do.
Word to the wise, they have an outlawed mouthwash on planes.
But no, like people are going insane. Like there's a woman on the flight out here who was just like didn't know how to act. She had like was trying to like as the plane was still being boarded, she was trying to come from the back of the plane to the front of it as there was a line of people getting onto the plane. And apparently there's been like tons of fist fights on airplanes and yeah, they're banning alcohol as a thing. And then now like the bars are opening up and shit. I don't know. I mean, unless you've been like steady drinking this entire year, chances are your tolerance has gone to shit. And like I said, yeah, it's just a sense that like, yeah, like nobody quite knows how to act anymore. We've lost. We need to sort of like rebuild our social muscles. But the way that's manifesting itself in our current American society is a little frightening, because like one of my biggest fears about, you know, COVID and a year of quarantine is that like it has like just turbocharged our like everyone's individual paranoia about everyone else.
Oh yeah,
about like other people like as a thing.
No, we have all had all of those cultural divides reinforced. Now everybody is a representative of a side that wants the death of the republic. That it's the social stakes are so high. Yeah, no trust at all.
You know,
and so you got a bunch of people who are wildly paranoid, all coming back into public to interact with each other out of a shared desire to like hedonistically indulge that's going to require them to confront people who they've never trusted less. That is a recipe, my friends, for fireworks.
Okay, so if you are in a situation where you're in public and you think you might get into like a biting war with someone, here's something you can use to sort of break the ice and maybe make people remember their humanity. Okay. Oh, both sides want the death of the Republic? You know, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm watching C-SPAN or Star Wars. And I think someone's going to hear that and remember, you know, their childhood, Dave Barry, stuff like that, Doonesbury, all the classics, and they will retract their teeth. Their canine teeth will shoot back into their mouths.
Well, just like anecdotally, like two incidents stick out in my mind just in this past week. You know, going out and like going to bars and having fun in Los Angeles. One night, We were just at this bar, regular like a nice bar, like nice outdoor area, like cozy interior, but very small bathrooms. And like in the ladies' room, only one toilet. And Catherine goes in there and opens the door to the stall, and there is a woman passed out on the toilet, like with her pants down.
Oh boy.
And it took some negotiation to get them out of the bathroom. And then the other night when we all went out for Korean barbecue, like after our meal, I get up to go to the bathroom, and then like I go in the bathroom, and I swear to God, I had an encounter with like a real life E1 character.
Yeah.
I get in there, it's like it's three urinals against the wall, and there's two guys like peeing next to each other, and then like the one who is in the middle, like closest to the open urinal that I was about to occupy, was standing so far back from the urinal that I could see his dick in his hand. And like, no, I wasn't looking. I mean, I suppose I caught a glance of it, but he was just pissing, like just openly, dick in hand. And he goes to his friend. He's like, "Yo, I'm drunk as a motherfucker." And this friend goes, "Yeah, that's because you a bitch." And like, I'm just like, "Sir, could you please please wear a mask, sir?"
Yeah.
"Sir, your mask is below your nose." No, so like, I do my business at the urinal, and then I go to wash my hands, and then the guy who was like pissing out back from the stall is just sort of like hanging out in the bathroom and just looking at me, and he's going, "Yo, what's the move for tonight, though?" I'm going home, sir. Leave me alone.
That's what's awesome about
It
it.
was just like, "Yo, you feeling good, man?" And like, I suppose it's sort of like positive in one sense, because like people are so happy to just be out again and just being stupid to other people, But like I said, it's this very much freshman year of college vibes, but in a country that's like been driving itself insane for like the last year. And another manifestation of this, Matt, we were talking about like out here in California. Was it like the other week there was like a wildfire in like Pasadena or something?
In the Pacific Palisades.
In the Palisades, and the Citizen app now, which has become like outsourced law enforcement, like they put out some alert about like some random person who they said was responsible for this fire, and then deputized all of their like ultra paranoid like white urban dweller fucking like app users to like find and hunt this guy down. Like,
yeah.
No evidence whatsoever
What's
that
the
they were.
worst thing that could happen? I was thinking about your guy in the bathroom, and it brought me to a broader point of something I do like about California, and it's that that type of guy. How best to describe him non-offensively? White guy wearing huge UNC powder blue shorts most of his time. Everyone knows what I mean.
Polo shirt.
Yeah, he's like a white guy who wears like South Pole in like 2021. And it's like you see that guy if you live in like I guess Fort Wayne, Indiana, or like Nebraska, but you don't see that guy in like New York, really.
No,
or like Chicago. Like that guy died out.
Yeah,
like 8 years ago, and it's the same with like sort of Mythbusters girl. Like like a
we had a MythBusters sort of waitress the other night.
Yeah. And it's like, but they're in LA. They're in LA because if you're like that, like if you're like a white guy who's like wearing huge shorts and like just talks to strangers like that, or like you're sort of like a mythbustery like blustery like burlesque show fucking Cards Against Humanity gal. It's like you're from Nebraska or somewhere, and people were like, "You're the coolest person in this town. Like you have to go to LA. Like you have to make it." And it's like that they all come here, LA is Dark Souls because LA is where people go to get hollowed. Like people go out here to do something, whether it is show business or something that's sort of adjacent to show business. It's like, oh, I'm the best fucking sign spinner in Delaware. I go to LA to sign spin for Hollywood movies. And then you get out here, and obviously it's the most low percentage industry on earth. You don't make it, and you keep dying every day pretty much over and over again until you're completely fucking insane. And you just go up to strangers, and it's like, yeah, you would be perfect for my movie. It's about a cop who's arresting himself because he has split personality disorder. I'm directing it now on my phone. You have to come. I'm kidnapping you. It's like there's so many people just go fucking nuts out here. Like, I guess New York has just like a baseline of like constant mental illness, but it's just like neuroses usually. in LA, like just anyone you meet could just be totally insane because they have been hollowed by the process of being out here.
I'm loving every moment of it. I love being hollowed out.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
being cored like a fucking Fuji apple. It's great.
Well, the adherents of the church in Londor in Dark Souls 3 believes that hollow is the true state of humanity.
See, there you go.
Yeah, and maybe they're right. That is the darkness within us. Is what governs LA.
Yeah.
I've been a little too full lately. I think it's time to get just a little bit hollow.
Yeah.
But no, I was just like Matt, the Citizen app thing where like they just had this vigilante campaign to find this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Who, supposedly started this forest fire, but like then, like the other week they turned out like this thing about that their Citizen is considering launching their own private police force.
Yeah. Because the original concept was if somebody sees a crime, then you could like crowdsource a response. But the real long-term goal was to give people a subscription service where if they saw a crime or were having one committed against them, they could call a privatized police force that would come immediately. And that's kind of what they've been trying to set up with the app that they've created and the culture around snitching that they're trying to encourage because they want to update people all the time about dangers in the area to get them paranoid.
It's like that and Nextdoor.
Yeah,
it's just like this highly like under siege mentality of these urban dwellers who view the entire the city canvas like every other person who's like not known to them is a threat, and the threat to be cataloged and sort of surveilled and neutralized. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like the Citizen app private police force. I mean, I think this goes to show like this is what is going to happen with law enforcement in this country, whether you defund the police or not.
No, that's the thing.
Like you could be totally have a totally funded police department, like generously funded, and like they will find a way to fucking like to create like these boutique sort of subscription based like civil servant.
There's nothing in the way of them doing it, therefore they're going to do it.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I mean, they're going to do it no matter what. Like, yeah.
This is sort of another way of saying, like, with the summer of people being feral, is also coincided with a steady uptick in violent crime across the board in America. Now, when I say this, like, it should be understood that this uptick in violent crime is coming from a place of a near historical low.
Right.
So, like, I mean, there is this narrative about like there is a panic about a rise in violent crime, particularly in violent crime among like already like underserved poor neighborhoods. But I don't want to make it seem like there's a panic, but if more people are getting murdered, it's certainly it's not anything to sneeze at or whatever. I just think that like this in conjunction with everyone coming out of fucking hibernation and the knock-on effect of like the absolutely like exponentially like ratcheted up paranoia that particularly like voting people in this country have towards everyone else is going to make for like some kind of, I don't know, heady reactionary backlash that I'm sure is going to be parlayed into some awful Republican resurgence in the midterms or the next presidential election or whatever. Because it's just this is what people feel now.
Yeah.
Whether it's like actually like an accurate representation of like there's some sort of like dramatically like rise in anarchy or social decay or whatever is sort of beside the point.
Yeah, I mean, it is what people feel, and like there's like I don't think it's the majority of people, but there's certainly like a large enough contingent of people that like think defunding the police actually happened.
Yeah,
and they're like, and they're like, well, look what you got, and it's like budgets went up for most people.
Yeah, no, like they gave the police more money.
Suck. Yeah,
because this is all narrative. I mean, the crime raise is also mostly narrative. I mean, you do have more murders in certain places, but like it is a statistical fluctuation in some respects.
Oh no, like but like not only do people think that like police departments across the country have been defunded, but like if you follow people who share stories of their relatives on Facebook or in real life, if you live in a city, there's a good chance that like you have aunts and uncles who believe that your city has already been like destroyed by riots.
Yes.
Like that it is burned, like that all of New York City or Portland or Los Angeles was like last summer razed, like Sherman marching to the sea by Antifa or fucking Black Lives Matter or whatever. Or then the cops are now just like, not even going to work or whatever.
Yeah. Because it's all a media narrative. Like the crime raise, no matter how real it is, it's being experienced by most of these people, the voting people, vicariously. It's not in their communities. Not really. I mean, and especially the ones in the suburbs, whether or not the police have been defunded or not, you don't know. You're only experiencing it as it was narrated. And crime rates you aren't experiencing only in any way other than as narrated. And it's being narrated as police funding went down and crime went up. And so you're going to be dealing with that reality no matter what actually happened.
Yeah, and that is going to be the narrative that, like, you know, every right-wing politician is going to fucking ram to the hilt to scare its suburban voters for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
Bill Bratton was interviewed by Maureen Dowd in the New York Times today, and she just gave him, like, she just let him, like, say whatever he wanted. And he's like, well, they got what they wanted. They defunded the police department. Now cops don't want to go to work or do their job.
Yeah.
And it's like, thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking asshole. And I mean, like, the counterexample to this is the election that Krasner just won in Philadelphia. Because, like, leading up to that, there was this whole spate of articles being like, oh, like, you know, like the limits of Krasner's, like, soft on crime approach is running headlong into, like, you know, down economy and rising crime, and, like, are these voters going to reject? Like, it was just seemed like all these articles are sort of making it seem like it was a fait accompli that Krasner was going to be voted out because like the people who you know in these poor communities or working class communities would be, like, so turned off by the rising crime, and, like, that not only did that not happen, but I think he won by, like, about 3-1.
Yeah.
And with votes from most of these, like, the communities that these people are supposed to be concerned about.
Well, that's because these are people who are experiencing it as it really is. Both ends of it. Not just the end where they get to root for people to go to jail.
Exactly. They're experiencing being heavily policed and experiencing the crime that usually is associated with, like, over-militarized policing.
Whereas a lot of the people we talk about in the political sphere only experiencing it vicariously.
Yeah,
from the
that's what they see on
sidelines.
TV.
Yeah. But the Democrats very well could get owned by this if they do what they're probably going to do, which is fuck up the rest of their time with any power, don't pass anything else, and allow the only debate to be that, because everything's going to be getting worse, and there'll be no.
And invariably, they'll run to the right
better.
on the crime issue, which they already have.
I could see Democrats, like the classic Democrat fuck up where they're like, oh, we're actually increasing funding to the police, and it's like they're implicitly admitting there is a problem.
Yeah.
Or
and then they can be accused of flip-flopping, where it's just like, well, last year you wanted to take away their money, now you want to give them more.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think if they have a really bad midterm and 2024, a lot of that's going to be, like, kind of dropping the ball on voting rights stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, actually, I was thinking about this the other day, because, like, I remember, like, last episode or 2 episodes, whenever we talk about, like, the Capitol riot, there's always a couple of people who are just like, why don't you take this more seriously?
Because I was there and it was fun.
It's a coup attempt, like, or this is a rehearsal or a message to, like, every Republican politician that, like, they, you know, should not even dare to respect the results of any election in which they don't win.
Yes.
So the county officials, the state and county officials should just simply refuse to certify
Push
any
as
election
far as you can.
that they don't win. And
Push
like,
until you hit
here's
full
the thing
resistance.
They already did that.
I have but I have absolutely no doubt that, like, that is what they are going to do and do more and more frequently and openly. And I have no doubt that, like, the Capitol riot was a connection to that. But here's the thing. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the fucking Democrats, because if they took this as seriously as you claim to believe, then, like, why are they trying to work with the Republicans to have a commission on this? Do you know how many fucking hearings the Republicans had about Benghazi without the Democrats, like, signing on to that? Like, why? It's like, why aren't they why are the people that you trust with to, like, protect you from this, like, you know, vicious right-wing, demagogic, anti-democratic political movement? Why don't they see it the same way you do? Because, I mean, like, look, I thought the Capitol riot was, like, you know, a joke. I mean, if anything,
I agreed with it.
It was hilarious because, I mean, like, it was a spectacular failure, right? But
they did a good job.
But what I mean is, like, on things like voting rights, on things like, how about just, like, have a commission on what happened and to, like, you know, like, stick it to these assholes the way they did to you in Benghazi or whatever. They simply won't do it.
Well, they got more important things to hold on to. You can't fuck with the filibuster. You cannot make it more likely that pressure can push the Democrats in a direction that they don't want to go. They've got a heavy lid on the top of this thing. They're doing this big progressive push, which is supposed to be made up by the new FBR, but it's entirely premised on finding the least amount that they can give kickstart the economy. And it's going to come down. Whether they get waxed in 2020 is going to come down more than anything to whether it works, whether it's able to, in its pittance, do enough to kickstart something with all that pent up demand from the quarantine, and you get like a little economic boost. And then if that happens, maybe they'll win the midterms or at least stanch the bleeding. But otherwise, they're going to get creamed. If it keeps limping along, they're going to get fucking creamed.
I mean, I think they might, as bad as the midterms could be, and I think it's still difficult calling it now. Like,
yeah, you got to know more about the economic macro.
Right.
I don't know that.
Right. I do, and this is even more difficult to call, but it is hard for me to picture too many people who would like give Biden a ton of trouble unless he really fucks up. If they choose to run Biden again, which I currently have no reason to believe that they won't.
No, it's working.
Why would you? Why, if you ran Kamala,
President Grandpa it's testing through the roof with all the key demos.
Yeah. President Grandpa's owning, and Kamala's still underwater. What does that tell you?
President Grandpa's the biggest hit this network's ever had.
Yeah.
What is the thing he said the other day about like
chocolate chip?
No, the girl he was
oh
like,
my God, that was so
she's looking like 19, like,
bone chilling. What are you doing?
I'm especially honored to share the stage with Brittany and Jordan and Nathan and Margaret Catherine. I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what, and look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her like a little lady with her legs crossed.
Yeah,
what the fuck? Joseph, Robinette, Biden, what are you doing?
It's so funny because Kamala is trying so fucking hard. She's trying so fucking hard to become a thing. And she's like going in every fucking direction, trying to appeal to everyone. No one's really into it. But then Biden goes out there and he's like, I like kissing kindergartners on the lips because their lips are soft. And like 60% of people are like, yes, we love him.
His approval rating is like what, 59 or 60 or something like that?
I think it's in the low 60s.
Every day, every single day when they even allow him to like come out in front of a green screen, he's like, just like, when they made Filipinos, they really, oh man,
they broke the mold.
They broke the mold. I love what they did there.
And crucially, the demographic that Biden struggled with the most in 2020 that augured the worst for the future of the Democrats was with Hispanics. His high approval ratings include a huge jump in support among Hispanics. So he's got them right now. Will he be able to hold on to them? My guess, no.
Well, Biden is like reverse they live, where it's like we don't have the glasses, so like we see what he's actually saying. What he's actually saying is like, I'd love to go to Sally Hawkins with your 7-year-old. It's just weird shit. But what people are hearing, like I don't know, like fluoride gives you the like takes away the glasses or something, and they're hearing like the most beautiful speeches ever. So when we hear a Biden speech where he goes President Trump, and we're like, what the fuck? Like people are hearing like Jed Bartlett. Maybe
I think it's because like we've had like we're at our age, like the fluoride in our body and bloodstreams is not built up to the level that like boomers have. So they get they're on the Biden wavelength.
Yeah,
that must
be
it.
They experience and feel him in a way that is totally unique to the way we do.
Like they don't know that he's had hair plugs for the last 30 years. They think he just has a big, beautiful, wafting chestnut mane.
They like if you like brushed your teeth with a lead toothbrush like your entire childhood. There's something about like the timbre of Biden's voice and like the insane content of what he says, where you're like, this is the best president like ever in human. This is the best world leader in human history, and he's just like. They'll like ask him a question like, "Are you going to still sell weapons to Israel?" And he's like, "Chocolate chip."
I came here to get ice cream.
Get in front of the car, and I'll run your fucking ass over.
That's a perfect example of that. That's a perfect example of that because like I remember like when Trump was president and like the absolute open contempt he had for the press corps, like it drove them crazy.
One of his best features.
Yeah, no, but these. Biden and like all his people have the exact same contempt.
Absolutely.
And in fact, but the press with Biden, they like it when he makes a joke about hitting someone with a car who's asking him a question about selling weapons to a fucking like ongoing war crime state.
yeah.
And he's just like, why just step for the car? I'll run you over, Mac. And they're just like, oh, that Biden. And we love his witty rapport with us.
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive away?
No, you can't. Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it.
Every headline about Biden in like the New York Times or any like avowedly like non-partial news sources like Biden stuns nation with beautiful speech, and the speech is like, you know, I remember when you could put a hand behind a girl's skirt when you were in line behind her. You can't do that anymore. And gay guys, they used to shave one part of their eyebrow off, so you knew that you could take them behind a set of bushes and do what you had to do. Used to be all Tom of Finland and wearing a leather outfit, and they would put a nose ring on so you could grab him by it. And who knows where you're going to bring his head down. And they're like, yeah, the most people ever cried hearing that speech.
But you know, like the question that he said about I'll hit you with my car is like, the funny thing is like most of the press corps wants to run over someone with a car if they ask the same question, because they're just like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Don't ask that question.
Yeah.
Don't ask why we're selling fucking fucking $1 billion worth of weapons to it.
Jake Tapper is just like quote tweeting like random people, like just a random like guy in like San Diego who's Palestinian, being like, this guy's anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like insane. It's fucking insane. But that's the non-partial American press.
As long as you're talking about that, I mean, I know I like the last week everyone had a lot of fun with the Eve Fartlow saga, and a lot of people were demanding that, or just not demanding, but like excited for the her insane like tablet piece about, you know, how her menchies are like the Holocaust, and they want to.
I have a theory about this.
Well, I mean, like they want us to do it, and like
It's
you know, like
gilding the lily.
it's just like
There's
we
nothing to
that's what
say.
they had fun with it for a day, but like
There's
my thing
nothing
is like
you can say about
it's
it.
bait. It's absolutely
they want
bait.
you to
they
talk
want
about
you to
that.
talk about it so that you're not talking about like Biden selling them another $1 billion in fucking weapons. They're not talking about Biden's complicity in all this. You're not talking about like the ongoing fucking war crimes that they're doing like every fucking day there.
They would rather you talk about. I mean, everyone's guilty of this because it's like.
I mean, look, it's fun. Like, I'm not telling anyone what to post.
Right.
or not
I don't want to. I don't
but-
want to like tell people what to post, and it's like, you know, everyone has their guys. Some people have Eve Bartlow. I have Arson, the guy who makes
The pie guy.
the Mikey Miles of Israel. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I think a good rule is like for every time you make a post like making fun of one of those guys, you should like, you know, make people see something that a Palestinian say.
Well, I mean, like,
because
yeah,
they will debase themselves to whatever
Exactly,
extent,
exactly.
because they would rather you talk about what an asshole they are,
And whether it's-
than you talk to any Palestinian.
And it's like whether it's like that shithead who wrote name dropped us in the Spectator or whatever in the most tortured analogy
Absolutely
ever.
baffling.
It's like Seth Rogen is to comedy as Chapo Trap House is to Henry Kissinger. It's
What
just,
the fuck?
What?
Like, yeah, you didn't hear that?
What?
You didn't hear that?
No.
Oh, it was a guy defending Eve Bartlow in the Spectator, which is like, by the way, one of the most openly anti-Semitic publications, like maybe outside of Der
Tacky
Stürmer.
writes for them, for
Tacky
Christ's
has been
sake.
on their masthead for years.
What was his analogy?
He said Seth Rogen is to comedy as Chapo Trap House is to Henry Kissinger.
He's had sex with the concept of comedy.
How does this? It is so bad. So it says a guy is to politics, and then shouldn't it be less to comedy? Or no, it's
No, it's like Seth Rogen is to comedy as Chapo Trap House is to politics.
Yes.
That would make sense.
Why would
Yeah.
he not do that?
But like, how do we
So
relate
instead
to
of
Henry Kissinger?
politics, he said Henry Kissinger,
This
a
is
guy.
This is how debased the Zionists.
Yeah.
This is how debased the Zionists are. Do you know how much you have to fucking suck to just like be completely Jewish? Everyone you know is Jewish. Your entire family. And you suck at making movies. You suck at writing articles. You fucking suck at making TV shows. You probably couldn't even put together a boy band. Someone puts a fucking gun to your head. Find 5 photogenic 17-year-olds from Florida. Make a boy band. You couldn't do it. All you could do is like debase yourself so people won't talk about the thing.
I mean, Felix, like exactly like your point you made about debasing oneself, or like the way these people debase themselves is exactly the same thought I have, and it's very true. It's like whether it's Eve Bartlow or Batya Bungar Sargon or any of these fucking clowns that just step out there to like just write like the shittiest article imaginable, that is just like so humiliating to them that they were like they have no compunction about literally saying that like sending an emoji to me is like the Holocaust.
Right.
And like the thing is, they're aware of that because like this is their role. Like they're willing to step. It is part of a larger project in which these people are willing to sacrifice themselves to step into the breach of absolute ridicule and debasement to form a very important function, which is to not talk about fucking like what's actually going on, or the actual, like they're talking about social media pogroms to distract you from the actual pogroms that are going on, to the actual fucking like ethnic cleansing and mass murder that's taking place by the state that they fucking basically all admire and seek to defend.
Here's the little rule of thumb I'm going to give you. When an Israeli does a bad piece of media, it's not on purpose. They're trying their best. That's like literally the best they can do.
Yeah.
When like an American Zionist who like actually would never move to Israel because they're so bad at making shows and stuff, is writing the worst article you've ever read. It's on purpose.
It's 1,000% on purpose. And like these people are, they're courting the exact reaction, and they couldn't have been happier with it. Like that's not to say you shouldn't make fun of them. Or like I'm not trying to tell anyone like, oh, like don't have fun or don't fucking wind up these idiots. I'm just saying
on the
like
prize though.
Yeah, like the fact that like I think well over 10,000 people marched in Washington D.C. this weekend in solidarity with Palestine.
This is like they are like that lobby is clearly nervous because it's like not just Americans openly supporting Palestine, but Americans openly going like, oh wait, what the fuck is this? Like the fact that there are so many people who haven't made up their mind, which is ridiculous, but like still. That was a block of people that you formerly was like, I'm with Israel 100% of the way because that's all I've seen on TV or read. And that it's up for grabs like this and that it's not a total control of the narrative. That does send a shiver down their spine.
Well, here's an issue. I saw a poll today that was like an overall like poll of like Americans. And it was like, who do you blame for like the violence in Israel-Palestine? And overall, among Americans, it was split basically 40-60 between people, 40% who blamed Israel and 60% who blamed Hamas. If you look at the age splits in this poll, under 40, it's flipped. 60% blame Israel, 40% blame Hamas. And if you're over 40, it's even more drastic. The older you get, the more likely you are.
The more you love Israel.
The more you love Israel. And the less sympathetic you are, like the less you want to hear about Palestinians or like their right to fucking self-defense or
Hey man, a lot of us have everything pinned on the rapture. Okay,
yeah,
they need to rebuild that third temple. Chop chop.
I have a tip for everyone. When you want to post about like any of these people all day, there's something my friend Spencer that has been doing that's really funny to me. And every time someone has like a virally bad post, he just replies to them with links to Olivia Rodrigo songs on Spotify. It's like, hey, check it out. Just do that. It's baffling. It doesn't give them the reaction they want. You can go on with your day.
Yeah, but like, I mean, these people are. It doesn't matter how ridiculous or stupid it seems. It's working for them, and they're well aware of it. And like, look, I do it too. Like, I get a good time fucking riling these people up as well. But it's you should just be aware that like it is entirely their goal. It's bait. It's entirely their goal to fucking like say something unbelievably cretinous and offensive, and then when people make fun of them, to fucking cry about it and be like, "Oh, look, this is everything I said is true. Look how anti-Semitic they are to me."
Yeah, and just make sure have as much fun as you want, but make sure that at the end of the day, you're not spending more time reading articles by like people in the forward who fucking suck and they're going to say the same thing anytime. You can read like Mohammed El-Kurd. Anyone, yeah.
You can read like the actual journalism about what's going on there. So we're talking about religion. Matt, here's a story that I saw yesterday that I think is right up your alley. It was about the release of an upcoming release of a new edition of the Bible. Called the God Bless America version of the Bible. The headline to this story, folks, the Protestants, they're at it again. They're at it again, folks.
They're having fun.
This version,
let them do them.
This will be like an expanded version of the Bible, which will include the U.S. Constitution, and in the foreword, lyrics from Lee Greenwood's classic, God Bless the USA.
This is like, blasphemy.
People literally like in the Bible would be killed for
yes,
this.
Yeah.
Like, people God kills people in the Bible who do shit like this.
This is a worldly institution, you fucking heathens.
This is like it's like they heard our
sacred and profane, for Christ's sake.
They heard what we said about them not worshiping God, just worshiping America, and they're like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that is what I worship.
That's literally what I wanted.
I love it when they do it. That's the best thing about the Protestants is that they just do it right for you. You don't have to say anything. It's like, yes, you worship America. Yeah. It is the devil worship of personal advancement in the form of America.
If we had a joke on the show where it's like, what are American Protestants doing? Putting the Constitution in the Bible, we'd be like, cut that. That sucks dick. Like that's like Garth Ennis 2006. Like that's so hacky.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can't believe we even like almost had that on the episode. That sucks so much. But no, they're like actually do like they're so far that way that they're like, yeah, a graphic novel about like a hypocrite evangelical who gets beat up by a cool guy who drinks. Like it's they're awesome.
But like to that thing about like the older you are, the more you love Israel. Like, and obviously, like the more Christian you are, the more you love Israel. And that's why in American culture, like particularly among evangelical Protestants, is why America's like unwavering support for Israel, the 51st state, is so important, because it's America's only connection to the Bible. Because if you are an evangelical Protestant in America, like the biggest problem that you have is not only is God not in the Constitution at all, America is not in the Bible at all.
That's why the smart ones became Mormons.
Yes, I know.
Because
If you're
Joseph
Mormon,
Smith
they just
figured
wrote
this shit out. He
a
squared
New
the circle.
Testament.
Genius.
Yeah.
And what a shock among American non-Catholic, not Jews, who is doing the best, who's thriving relative to the baseline of like just white people? Fucking Mormons.
Mormons, it's like Protestants are all like dying in mass from
Yeah.
like COVID or like just driving
Fentanyl.
into a brick wall. And Mormons are like,
Gender frickin' reveals.
yeah, Mormons went from being like an itinerant group of like just would get kicked out of places for being too annoying, and now it's like, oh no, we're the American Knights Templar.
Yeah.
We're knights of the security state. We have the most money. We're actually growing. Like
Yep.
we own an
They
entire
subordinated
state.
capitalism to like their social grouping.
Yeah.
Because they recognize the need to do that.
They were like, they solved all the problems. They didn't try to wedge a square a peg into a square
Yeah.
or into a circular hole.
But-
They were like, no, we have to make a new thing where we're God, where we become God after we die.
Yeah.
Like it's no,
And
like
that's why like the smart hustlers became Mormons, the fucking the dumbasses, the lazy players, they stayed, no, we're going to stick with this desert religion and just try to like graft it on. And then it ended up being totally dissolved into nothing.
how do you like how many I'm sure this has happened with Mormon guys before, but there aren't a lot of like Mormon gym bakers, like guys who are going to go on TV and cry all the time about
No.
how they sin.
Maybe if you're in like Utah or Nevada or like in the
There's-
Southwest,
there's
where,
gotta
like,
be a
there's
few
lot of
guys
more. There's
like
got to
that.
be a few like Mormon TV shows.
But it's not like
and-
there won't be like a nationally famous Mormon. Like they won't allow like the only nationally famous Mormon, like basically renounced Mormonism to he's like Glenn Beck is functionally an evangelical.
Yeah.
He's
like-
like, you converted
yeah.
in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I didn't know he fully converted.
No, he was a convert,
Yeah,
an
no,
adult
he didn't
convert
start
to
out as a-
Mormonism,
yeah, he
so
wasn't
it was
born-
always lightly held.
Yeah, no, he's not a true Templar.
No.
He doesn't hold the Templar blood. And like Mitt Romney would never allow himself to like
Absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
no, God no.
He has some pride.
Yeah.
And that's the Mormons have pride.
Yes, and of course, plenty of people who live in Mormon country or know of it are probably going, no, they're sucks. They're doing poorly too. Like Utah is in a lot of lower indices for and it's they're doing bad because everything is dissolving, but they held out longer than the rest of us.
Yeah, and like if this thing we have now cracks and reforms and ember turns to ash and then ember again and the flame rises again, it will be the Mormon kingdom of America.
Yes.
Like it's like what's the only group that I think is organized enough?
Yeah.
Like the
That's
American
why-
Zetas would be Mormons.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
That's why my ongoing favorite science fiction program, The Expanse, like 400 years in the future, it is very clear like the only like major religious group that is still around or features in like the culture as it portrayed on the show are Mormons, and they're building a giant space ark to go fucking.
They absorbed
They're
all
probably
the other
doing
ones.
that now.
yeah.
They're probably fucking they probably like Mormons have probably like rented a Big Lots that they own a franchise to the Covenant.
Well, I mean, just those are here in L.A. That is why the greatest American singer-songwriter, Warren Zevon, is the product of the two most powerful and esoteric bloodlines in America, and one of the rarest combinations of all time. Half Mormon, half Jewish.
Wow.
Message to all listeners.
chosen
Message to all listeners. If your name is like Mary Beth Johnston and you like have never tasted soda, contact me. We can create a new kingly bloodline. Contact me. Contact me. Contact me.
Dude. Oh God.
No, that's two chosen people.
Yeah,
Because
those are the two
'cause
most chosen people
the-
of
And
all
one
time.
group who
Mormons
loves soda and one
self-consciously-
group who hates it.
the Mormons self-consciously grafted their social movement onto their ideas about early Judaism. They called non-Mormons Gentiles.
Yeah, no, they're weebs for Judaism.
Yep.
But they made Joseph Smith clearly talked to some Jewish guy at some point and was like, "So do you guys have heaven?" And he was like, "Hey, you become the part of God." And Joseph Smith
And
was
he
like, "Not good enough."
No, yeah, forget being part of. Yeah,
I would just be God. Thank you very much.
yeah.
That sounds cool. It's like playing a giant PlayStation for eternity.
Yeah.
Because they really did solve the eternal question of monotheistic afterlife. How are you going to not get bored of everything? How are you going to maintain? Nothing can work in an infinite space like that.
You
Unless
become eternal.
Your eternity, and you're watching everything happen in front of you.
Yeah. They're like, man, they should just instead of Marvel movies, they should just make action movies that are the Mormon Bible.
Yep.
the New Testament.
Yeah. They did a great job. Don't tell me about the bad stuff they did. I know.
All right. Well,
Someone's going to DM me. It's like 30 screenshots of the Mormonism Wikipedia. I'm not reading it. Go to hell.
all right. So I guess because we are going back to New York tomorrow, last thing I want to talk about today is a story out of New York this week in the New York mayor's race, which I astonishingly, I have followed it almost not at all. I have no idea who's running for mayor.
All right. You got Scott Stringer. You got the woman who apologized.
Well, I want to talk about the woman who apologized.
You got Eric Adams. You got Andrew Yang.
It's gonna
The guy Drew Dilbert, he's going to be mayor of New York.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be either Scott Stringer or Eric Adams, and they're both a mixed bag. But you know what? It kind of New York City mayor is just
it's just a job where you just absorb everyone's hate.
everyone's the
You're
psychic
the painting,
anger.
You're the painting of Vigo the Carpathian
Yeah.
in Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
2.
exactly. You absorb. You are the slime in Ghostbusters
Yeah.
2. That is what being New York City mayor is like. But we've made fun of Bill the Bungler all the time, but
He's
he,
a bungler.
best mayor in
he
America.
defeated COVID.
He defeated the Trump virus. He defeated the Trump virus.
He defeated the Trump virus and Equinox. You don't have to wear a mask in Equinox
Yeah,
anymore.
he's the best mayor in the world. He's
that
the-
the photo of him wearing a dress shirt over the fucking
Yeah.
Nets jersey.
He has swag. Eric Garcetti, if Eric Garcetti goes everywhere, people are like, "Fuck you, you fucking suck." And when Bill DeBungalow, that only happens to him 50% of places. And no, Bill DeBungalow is the man, and I don't know. I guess I should care about this race. I really don't want Eric Adams. I might be forced to vote in this, but
I really don't want Andrew Yang.
I don't want him
that's
either.
That's the main one that I'm rooting
But
against.
everyone kind of sucks.
They're all pretty shitty. But none of them are wildly more terrible than the others. But none of them are wildly better than the
I
others.
think I kind of want Morales to be mayor because it would be so funny. It's a former charter school person who's at age 60 is the accountability process is
that's-
blah blah
yeah.
blah.
You got bodies in
Yeah.
my spaces.
Well, that's what I'm
You
talking
got
about.
spaces
Yeah,
in my
that's
bodies.
So,
she
4
was-
years of that is so
Morales
funny.
was sort of the consensus sort of left wing progressive choice for mayor because she said all the things or whatever, but her campaign imploded this past week where her campaign manager quit, and then she the campaign released one of the most baffling statements I've
so
ever
good.
you could just. Your eyes could start bleeding staring at it, trying to figure out what the fuck she's actually talking about.
It's one of those
it was this lengthy
apologies.
statement. It was apologizing for the conduct of a campaign staffer who did some unspecified thing, and now they're working to hold space for other bodies.
Yeah, no, it's one of those apologies that's so vague where it's okay, did he make an off-color joke or did he hit a girl with a car and kill
Yeah.
her? It's my favorite type of thing
Yeah.
where it's I don't know what.
And I tried to parse this, and I asked. I was does anyone know what this is actually referring to? And someone said it was because it was a staffer was racist or an asshole to other people on the staff, and I was okay. I was but what though? How is he an asshole? And they're I don't know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not saying this to question. I just want the goss. You know,
Yeah.
I want to know the dirt. And I think like also if you apologize or like do accountability for shit like this, I don't think you should get points unless you make it very clear exactly what the fuck happened.
It's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like this is just like allowing you to just be like, it could have been, like an off-color joke, or it could have been a murder. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, this has been what's insane to me about the mayor's race, and like I guess how it's been or how they're all covered. All the big municipal races in America, like the big three, I guess, or the big four: San Francisco, L.A., New York, Chicago. It's like you think about this particularly in L.A., where everywhere you go, there are just these like just open human misery everywhere. There's so many people just fucking living outside under tarps, and it's like. There's been all this media coverage of people who are like, oh, I'm leaving New York or I'm leaving LA. I'm going to like Texas.
To Austin or whatever.
And what that always is, like, if you really break it down, one of it's taxes, I guess. But the other thing is you like don't want to see homeless people and you want to go to a place where they like kill them quicker.
Yeah.
Because that's all these municipal elections in all these places. The main thing the job is, and for the people that are like fanatical about voting in them, it's basically like, which way are we going to kill all the homeless people?
Yeah.
And it's so fucking insane to me because, like, even if you were going to take a cynical track with it, like, what's the best way to keep capital here and, like, to, in the long run, save the most money and generate the most revenue? It would be to take, like, $1 billion in state funds a year and be like, okay, here's an apartment. Like, if you've been driven fucking insane by just living against the elements for 3 decades, like, here you go. Like, we don't want you to like fucking die outside. We don't want this to be like a societal problem. If you're just doing that from a cynical angle, like fine, but it's like all like the only coverage I've seen is like, you know, did Yang have a moment on The View? And it's like, how is this not like the biggest issue? Just like the thousands of people just like sleeping in the fucking rain.
Because they have nothing they can do about it. Because although the correct answer of pay for them to live humanely is obvious and correct and feasible, you have to put that housing somewhere.
Yeah.
And municipal power derives from fucking real estate, developers and homeowners in some combination. And so you work for them if you're the mayor. And so you have no real leeway to do anything other than just move homeless people around and abuse them so much that they take the hint and leave town or something.
The 1970s
Yeah, but they're not.
awesome. The 1970s were awesome for the American mayoral system.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was the entire. I mean, everyone who was a mayor at that time was broken on the wheel, and everybody who's come after that knows the score.
It just served the fire industry.
It's just so insane to me because it's like no one really like just across the board, and this isn't one of the things where it's like, oh, people on the left talk about it. No, it's like no one really wants to talk about it. It's like no one wants to think about it or see it, and it's like all these like people who maybe in their personal lives to their families are good, or you know they consider themselves like outwardly progressive people, will like if this was a direct vote, like we're gonna kill all these people in a way you don't have to see.
Oh, they
it's
would
like
absolutely take that vote.
Yes, they vote yes. Like it's
Or if like
it's
maybe if you
insane.
didn't put it in those terms, like the word kill.
Yeah.
You just like it was just you press the button and you're like we don't have to see them anymore. They're not
Yeah.
a problem. They're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
They're not really even
They're
supposed
not-
to
they're
be
not
there,
supposed
so
to
it's
be
not a
here.
crime what happened.
Yeah.
It's so insane to me that like no one really portrays this as like a national crisis, which it is. It's just, and I think the longer it goes on, the less likely anything will be done about it, because every day that goes by that you live in some place like San Francisco or New York for that matter, and you just walk by encampments of people who have been driven insane by the world and forced literally onto fucking sidewalks with indentations on their heads from sleeping against jagged edges. You just deaden that part in you that feels anything about it just a little bit more until it's like you got blinders on. You walk right by it.
Those
Don't
people
fucking notice.
serve a vital social function the way they are that would be lost if they were treated humanely, and that is they are fucking warning to everybody else.
Yeah, if you have one of the invisible jobs, if you're a guy who lives in a fucking shitty apartment and your job is to wipe down the aisles at CVS or like drive Uber or something like that, that's telling you like, hey, don't fuck up.
Yep.
Don't ask for
Yep.
too much.
People say,
we're giving you this, you
capitalism,
could be
it doesn't
that.
have coercion. This is the coercion. It is creating these people to live in these lives that it doesn't have to be, and that is the fucking gun at the base of the neck
And
that
this
gets
is- and this
everybody
is-
on the treadmill.
And this is on the exact same spectrum of like the conversations about like, oh, how tight, like, how generous should unemployment benefits really be?
Yeah.
Or like, we don't want a labor market that's too competitive and tight for like, employers or whatever. It's this whole thing about like, or should we really incentivize people not working? It's just because like, no, they need that lash.
Yep.
They need the lash in their hand. And like, if you are someone on unemployment, they're like, they want to force you right back into taking that job for fucking $12 an hour or less. And if you're like, and again, if you're making more, like, who the fuck would choose a job over that?
I mean,
Like, what, like, and then a homeless crisis, like that problem, like again, you're exactly right, Matt. Like, you just point to those people and just be like, hey, you like that? Because if you don't fucking show up for work, like, that's going to be you, and there's going to be, and no one's going to help you. No one's going to help.
You're
you.
invisible.
You're going to be
everyone.
invisible. You're going to be like literal garbage that like have no rights, no recourse, and no one even notices your pain.
The most you can ever become like the story is when a bunch of rich people hate seeing you so much that they go somewhere else.
I mean, like right here in LA, like they just like Echo Park, they just like had this huge clear out of Echo Park, which had a homeless encampment in it. And now like they're just reopening Echo Park, but there's a fence around the entire park and checkpoints to get back in, which is like, if you live in that neighborhood, isn't that a fucking eyesore? You can't even go to a public park without being asked like, hey, are you here for business or pleasure?
It looks like the yard at a minimum security prison now.
And apparently, like one of the, again, this is like such like liberal brain like fucking hostility. Like one of the ways they're dealing with like the areas that were previously like had tents or camped out. They're going to be like what they're doing now is that they're creating these like ecologically sustainable like cactus gardens because they're like this is
sustainable.
This is sustainable. This
in
is
a city where you have to get everywhere by car. Suck my fucking dick.
So
you have
literally-
to take a car. There are no sidewalks here. Suck my fucking dick. Your cactus garden.
So they're creating like all like actual space that would be available for a human being to sit or like lie on. They're going to cover with fucking cactus spines, but they're like, oh, that's sustainable. It doesn't waste water.
In like you burn through like a stegosaurus worth of fossil fuels to like go to 7-Eleven here. A fucking cactus garden. Oh my god, this is satanic.
You look at it and you just think, what is the long-term game plan here? Because you're just moving people around for huge amounts of money. They're spending over $2,600 a month per tent to keep people in a big parking lot next to the freeway in a fucking tent. More than a fucking 2-bedroom apartment in this city. They could just pay people to stay there. They're spending that money instead.
Just moving everyone around.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Sending them on buses to go to like.
So that it makes you think. Well, okay, there's no long-term plan here. You're just kicking the can down the road, and it's like, isn't that going to eventually blow up in your face? Isn't there going to be too many people to deal with? And the direction we're going is the creation of areas that are denied to homeless people, but the unhoused technologically. Like little cantons, little like central market and like suburban areas that are just denied by the geography, by the architecture, by the drone army, whatever it is, and then there'll be everywhere else, and then you guys can figure that out your own.
Even in the UK, a place that has no value of human life,
yes,
a place where
the
people love being spit on, the government will be like, here, we're buying your apartment building that no one lives in so we can like put homeless people here. And like, I'm not saying they don't have a homeless problem, but it's like they're doing something we don't really do here. I mean, the only example I've really heard of someone doing that on any type of scale was actually in Utah.
Yeah, as would you imagine. There's plans on the books. LA has this thing like Project Room Key that they have funding for and are going to get more funding for, which is just buying out unused hotel rooms and turning them into sort of like SROs.
Yeah, why not? Why not spend,
SROs that are run by the city?
Why not spend as much money as possible and house the least amount of people?
Yeah.
Hotel rooms. How many fucking empty buildings are there?
Well, that's the thing is that they're not renting out the hotels. They're turning the hotels into like dormitories basically, and so far they've used barely any of the money. But the hope is that if there's changes on the city council and stuff, that they can get like really open the floodgates. So there are like models to do something different. It's just a question of whether they can actually get the things together that make it happen.
But sorry, just we got very far afield. Like back to Morales in New York City. Back to
the real shit.
Back to a real fucking city.
Yeah.
No, I mean like there's a couple threads here that I think are interesting. It's like one is it should be like an object lesson in how fucking useless that bodies and spaces language is. If anyone can say it, and it can be used so deftly to just basically like blinker all.
What
I don't counting of like what actually happened or what was said or done.
I don't think it's totally useless because it's like, well, if you look at Morales on paper, it's like, well, yeah,
that's
why,
the use of it is that like, how did this person like again, like I know like I didn't know shit about her, but like it's just she gets out there and she says all the right things, but like she was in Bloomberg's fucking administration.
Yeah.
She can't contract business with the city because she bribed a water inspector back in like the Bloomberg administration. She was on this like a fucking nonprofit that was just evicted people. It was just a nonprofit for evicting people and I don't know, funding charter schools or something. And then all of a sudden she's talking about fucking like we are doing the work of holding the space.
Well,
for marginalized
that's the
people.
thing. That language will never work in getting the amount of people you need to win the election, but it will peel enough people off. And that's the point of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like it worked enough to convince enough people to just be like, "Oh, she's the progressive choice for New York City,"
and it put those voters out of commission.
Yeah,
you're just throwing that shit away.
And then now like, to find out like and then like all her staff quits because they wanted to form a union and like the fucking like the
Most
June
important
22nd is the fucking primary. Like
most important union types are, I would say, campaign workers. That's the most important.
And like I mean, obviously,
unionized.
like I'm in favor of like all workplaces being unionized. Like the more the better, in my opinion. But like it's just simply like these campaign jobs is like, I mean, isn't this just like a stepping stone for most of these people to get fucking jobs in politics?
Yeah, I'm gonna come out here and say I like don't give a shit about people who work on campaigns.
I gotta say this though.
I'm sorry, man.
I don't. When it comes to Morales, I don't really think that like that really was some sort of leftist, insurgency campaign powered by real. It seems like it was very focus tested.
Yeah.
So whatever's going to happen there, you'd expect it. Of course, they're trying to secure the bag. Why wouldn't they? But I do think that, like in a world where there are attempts to genuinely challenge the system through electoral politics, like people do take the plunge to try to do local and state races. When they do that, they have to understand that they're subordinating their interest to some degree to something bigger than them, right?
Yeah.
Like that they're actually trying to get something accomplished more than just get a job, more than just, punch a clock. Like there's something that they're trying to accomplish there. And I hope that like this isn't just a sign that everybody is so kind of fixated on, these models like unions, they're good. We need one for the workplace. That they completely forget, that sometimes there's something bigger to fight for. But I don't think that was even, the case here because it seemed like a very cynical campaign from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they just saw like that lane was open, and then they hired a bunch of people that taught her how to like talk about, like use the language that like people respond to, and that like who like that bodies and spaces talk.
Yeah, it's like, look, we
she
know
was literally in
the section we
Bloomberg's
have
fucking
here. Yeah.
administration.
Yeah, and
That guy put a lot of bodies in a lot of crawl spaces.
Yeah. And like, but de Blasio got elected from the left wing of that campaign. So there's a thought, hey, there's.
But he didn't do that for the most part. Like he didn't.
No, yeah,
talk like that grad student shit.
he just got out there.
Because it was earlier though. That hadn't developed yet. He would have.
Right. That was a while ago.
He would have if it was around yet, but it was still bubbling and crock-potting on Tumblr and in the academy. But yeah, if the Bungalow was coming out now, he would be coming out hard. He'd be playing the ones and twos, the bodies and spaces.
No, the Bungalow is an auteur. Like he would have. There's something I love about him where it's like he's like if Tommy Wiseau like won the Oscar. Like it's like the fact that he became mayor is fucking amazing, and it's like I like every time I see like a journalist bitch about him, it's like. I'm like, okay, is this about real estate development, like something important? It's like, no, I can't park my mom's car in front of a union pool, like some like super specific New York bullshit. And it's like, you know what? I've decided I like this guy sheerly because of how uncharismatic he is.
It is impressive. A guy that tall.
He sucks, just like any Democrat who runs the city would suck, probably for pretty much the same reasons. But like as a guy, amazing.
He's the DeBungalow, and
I love DeBungalow, and he beat the Trump virus.
And
you can't take that away. You can't take that away. Best mayor in America, New York #1, lifelong New Yorker since 2015.
I mean, and he certainly. It's like if you put him in contrast to Governor Andrew Cuomo, it's not a contest.
Yeah, Cuomo,
God, yeah.
Bill DeBungalow would never like hug a woman and then like bite her ear a little bit and be like, do you know my friend Janet? You look like if she was taller. Can I try to pick you up? I'm gonna pick you up.
I guess just the last thing with the New York City mayor's race. This was like a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was so funny. This was back in like Andrew Yang hadn't fucking taken a nosedive.
Oh God!
Which happened, by the way, right after he said he stands with Israel.
Yeah.
Which I guess I don't know if one thing is related to the other, but in New York City, for that to happen, that's not nothing.
It is interesting. I mean, I kind of do think that
I think it was mostly
his
just
accumulated gaffes and oafery kind of took the bloom off the
I think
rose.
most
David
people
Roth
just-
was right when it's like he should have like never talked about issues.
Oh, absolutely no. He blew it. He was winning on name recognition, and it was all a question of whether the snowball was going to melt under the heat before the election day. And he needed to keep it moving with goofy stunts and cringe, not fucking talking about the issues and be like, what if we put a dogfighting casino on Randall's Island
Yeah,
that only takes Bitcoin?
He like if he was just like, I'm going to bring back Mango Jewel. Like this,
Yeah.
we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
No, he would be mayor now.
Yeah.
They would have just said we're not even having an election.
Yeah, and the bungalow would be like, "Hey, that's against the." Oh, all right.
I know. It's like
I would be the one guy who's like, I'm like his onion. I'm like the bungalow's onion knight.
But, I mean,
he's Stannis, and, and I'm his onion knight.
I will defend Andrew Yang like only in so much as I think a lot of the ways people have been trying to catch him out, just being like, he's not a real New Yorker, is like the shit that I can't stand. Like more than I hate like all of this debate about like a real New Yorker would never eat pizza that way. It's like shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Because like there was one example where they're like, "What's your favorite subway station, Andrew?" And he was like, probably Times Square. It's my stop. It's where I live." And it's like, it's weird that he lives in Times Square.
Yeah,
like,
that's a hell of a move.
That's fucking bizarre. That seems like a fucking nightmare to me.
Name a better way to be within walking distance to the M&M store. Like it's like I have the gym, he has the M&M store.
It would be funny if he's just like clockwork, 6 o'clock every night, walks to the M&M store.
He probably does. He probably fucking does that.
Yeah, but who has a favorite subway
Well,
station?
that's the point. Like the
No one.
actual real New Yorker answer to what is your favorite subway station is none of them.
The one that
they're
I just
all suck.
left
They all
because I'm
the one
drunk.
I just left. Yeah.
They're all wet all the
Yeah,
time.
they're dank.
They're
It's not
always
like-
the
it's
wrong
not like
temperature.
so dank.
They're
It's not like Moscow or even like DC.
Yeah,
They're
where there's
disgusting.
where there's one of them happens to have a beautiful vaulted ceiling and like a gorgeous marble fucking like tiling or I don't know like architecture, chandeliers or whatever. It's like no, they're all a dank urine-soaked hellhole.
Yeah.
They're all miserable.
Andrew Yang, who's your favorite Ock? Where does your Ock work?
And there's one other thing I want to defend Andrew Yang on, even though I hope more than anything he is not mayor of New York City. It was the New York Times, and they give like these stupid quizzes to all the candidates. And like that was when like Sean Donovan, Obama's fucking former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, when asked what the average home price in Brooklyn is, said $100,000.
the fucking HUD
I
secretary.
miss you, a bungler.
Secretary.
Just too good.
Oh man. So but when Andrew Yang did it, it was clear that he was just looking up answers on his phone. And these fucking snitches and tattletales, like the other candidates and journalists were like, should we let Andrew get away with that? It's just like, of course he was, the other candidates are fucking morons for getting caught up like that and answering $100,000 instead of just looking on their phone for half a
If
second.
you fail the take-home test, you just leave school.
Yeah,
leave.
Well, New York City will still be awaiting us tomorrow when we
And
return.
it's
I'm so
beautiful
excited.
buzzing. I'll
Yeah.
be coming too. I'll be diving back into its luscious
We'll be
expanse.
doing our first live event, or streaming event rather, but Frequency Fest tickets still
Live
available.
streaming
A
event is
live
what they call
streaming event. It's a fucking killer lineup. We've got a very interesting sort of LA or sort of Hollywood based concept for you guys.
Yeah.
Me and Andrew have also written a truly repulsive thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, they've really they've got some Necronomicon
It's
stuff.
disgusting.
It's from the dark reaches.
This is the darkness of humanity.
Yeah,
what you're gonna-
if anyone who tunes in to Frequency Fest is getting fully hollowed.
yeah, no.
They're going to be fully hollowed.
You will become a pale shade of Londor.
All right, guys. Well, it's been so awesome being here in California, but
We love it.
We'll be back on the East Coast soon. But cheers to you guys. It's been so much fun hanging out here with you guys.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
good to be back together as a triumvirate.
Well, we'll be back.
COVID's over, baby.
We'll be doing shuttle diplomacy from now on.
Indeed. Yes.
Like it's no. I like as I've said a million times this week. I can't live here because I would kill somebody with a car. Everyone
would.
knows it. I would do it either by accident or more justifiably on purpose because I got frustrated. Someone was watching me parallel park, and I murdered them with my car. But no, we'll be back and forth. I like visiting here. It's fun.
It's been fantastic. I've had so much fun this past week.
We have too many friends out here to not come here multiple times
and most
a year.
fun of all is just just being in the same room with you guys again. It's been awesome.
It is beautiful. It's like 2016 again, but we have all the experience. We went from being Gurnier to Spears.
Yep, we're grizzled veterans now.
It's like 2016, but now we've all finally dropped that V card up top. Boys. All right.
Yeah.
College.
So glad we all fucked each other in 2019. That was
It's the
really
best way
coming
out.
under in the wire. Yeah.